Okay, now let's look at another example to understand this materiality aspect of relevancy. And this case scenario is presented at the beginning of the chapter. You can read this, what happened in this case scenario. And basically, we know in the case, what happened in the case is that Dylan is on trial for criminal mischief for breaking into Victor's car. All right, we just want to discuss one particular item of evidence to demonstrate what we mean by this materiality aspect of relevancy. So Dylan is on trial for criminal mischief, and then Dylan intends to offer Alan, his neighbor, to testify that in the afternoon of the alleged break-in, Alan told him that Victor had seduced his 15-year-old daughter and had sexual relations with her. All right? So the issue is whether this evidence is admissible or not. Okay, so basically that is Dylan actually break into Victor's car, and for that he was charged with this criminal mischief, and then he offers evidence to show in the afternoon of this break-in, he learned from his neighbor that the Victor seduced his daughter. Okay, so whether this evidence should be considered relevant evidence or not. All right, so once again, we have to say this evidence is irrelevant because it fails to satisfy the materiality aspect of relevancy. All right, let's examine why we say this evidence fails this materiality aspect of relevancy. Here we need to examine what Dylan was trying to prove here. All right, Dylan made a factual proposition, that is, Victor seduced his daughter. Okay, this is really what Dylan was trying to show. And to prove this factual proposition, Dylan offered Alan, his neighbor, to testify that he told him in the afternoon of this break-in that Victor seduced his daughter, did this bad thing. So as far as this Alan, this neighbor's testimony is concerned, it satisfies the logical aspect of relevancy, because what Dylan is trying to prove, Dylan was trying to prove Victor seduced his daughter. So if the neighbor would come to court to testify that indeed he told Dylan Victor seduced his daughter, and then this neighbor's testimony would satisfy the logical aspect of relevancy. But the problem is whether this factual proposition, whether this evidence and would satisfy the materiality aspect of relevancy. Okay, we have to say this factual proposition, that is Victor seduced his daughter, this fact, we have to say, is of no consequence. Okay, is of no consequence to the determination of the action. Okay, what we mean by this? Meaning is, even though Dylan could prove that Victor had seduced his daughter, that would not give him legal justification to break into Victor's car. We understand it, right? So, meaning is, now Dylan is on trial for criminal mischief, for breaking into Victor's car. And then he offered this evidence to show in the afternoon of this break-in, he learned that Victor seduced his daughter. But the issue is that because this Victor seduced his daughter, and then Dylan is justified in breaking into Victor's car? Do we have, in criminal law, do we have that defense? Of course we do not. This is just like, if you have an argument with your classmate, and if your classmate maybe pushed you, maybe slapped you in your face, and then you would go out to damage that person's car. And then if the police actually have you arrested, and then the prosecution would prosecute the case, and then the prosecution would say, oh, you damaged the person's car, and then you committed this criminal mischief. And then do you think you can offer the evidence to say because why I damaged the person's car, why I broke into this person's car, because this person slapped me in the face, or maybe pushed me? Do you think the court would accept that defense? Of course, the court would not. Even though someone pushed you or slapped you in your face, that is not your justification to go out to damage the person's property. All right? So that is, in this criminal mischief prosecution, that would not give you any legal defense. Okay? Whether someone pushed you or whether someone slapped you in your face, legally speaking, that has nothing to do whether you actually committed this criminal mischief or not. Okay? What is criminal mischief? If you damage someone's property, you committed this crime. You say because someone pushed you, someone slapped you, that is not legal defense. You can prove that, but even though you can prove that the court is not going to say because someone pushed you, someone slapped you, you are not going to be guilty of this criminal mischief. All right? So that is what happened here. Okay, this is a factual proposition made by Dylan, that Victor seduced his daughter. That is not a defense for him to break into this Victor's car. All right? He broke into Victor's car. He committed this criminal mischief. Okay? Regardless why he did that, even though Victor seduced his daughter, and he still could not really commit this act of breaking into Victor's car. All right? So as far as criminal law is concerned, whether there was this seduction or not, that would not change the fact Dylan committed this criminal mischief. All right? So we have to say this fact Dylan was trying to prove, that is Victor seduced his daughter. We have to say that is the fact. That is the fact that of no consequence to the determination of the action. All right? So what do we mean by this materiality aspect of relevancy? That is, if you want to prove any fact, all right, if you want to offer evidence to prove any fact, this fact must be of the consequence to the determination of the action. If you're trying to offer evidence to prove any fact that is of no consequence to the determination of the action, and then this evidence would fail this materiality aspect of relevancy. All right? So we want to emphasize this point because this logical aspect of relevancy is easier to understand. Because in our daily life we understand what is a logical connection, but to understand this materiality aspect of relevancy would be more difficult. So that's why you should try to think more about this materiality aspect of relevancy so that you can fully understand this issue. All right? So we can offer some other examples to demonstrate this point. Okay, for example, we can say if someone committed this shoplifting. Okay, suppose. Okay, and then the defendant is on trial for this shoplifting, and then the defendant would say, I want to offer this evidence. After I committed this shoplifting, I really felt very bad, so I returned this item to the store. All right? If the defendant wants to offer this evidence, would this evidence of returning the item to store is relevant or not. All right? So here you need to understand the defendant's factual proposition is, after I committed this shoplifting, I returned this item to the store. And then he can ask this store clerk to testify that indeed he returned this item back to store, right? But can the clerk come to court to testify to prove that the defendant returned this item to store? The answer is no, because this evidence would fail this materiality aspect of relevancy. Okay? If a person took this item out of the store without paying, at that point, the person already committed shoplifting. Whether the person returned this item back to store, that is irrelevant, right? It is not really you returned something, a stolen property, and then you did not commit this crime of theft, all right? So if this fact, the person later returned this item, whether you prove that or you do not prove that, that would not have any consequence. That would offer no consequence to the determination of the action. That is whether the person committed this crime of shoplifting or not. That evidence, that fact would fail this materiality aspect of relevancy. Okay, because according to criminal law, there is no such a defense saying that after you commit this theft, if you return this item and then you did not commit this theft, there is no such provision in criminal law, right? So why do you try to prove this point? Okay, so if you try to prove this point, we are going to say this is a fact that is of no consequence to the determination of the action, so that would fail this materiality aspect of relevancy. All right? So that's why we can offer more examples, but I think these examples should be sufficient to demonstrate what we mean by this materiality aspect of relevancy. Once again, it is more important for you to understand this materiality aspect of relevancy because this aspect is more difficult to understand than this logical aspect of relevancy. So make sure you understand what we mean by this materiality aspect of relevancy.